Alright, well hello all. Sean here. And what I'm doing today is I'm going to show you how I make sausage. I have a hind quarter. I have this deer hind quarter, and I was going to take and make jerky out of it, but I mentioned it to my mother, and my mother, she absolutely loves the way I make my sausage. So instead of that, no jerky, I'm going to take this whole thing and I'm going to make it into deer sausage. So, beginning steps, I have this whole hind quarter right here. And the first thing I want to do is I want to trim off all the fat. I want to trim off, any hair, still a little bit of hair on it, but that's what you get from cleaning it. But anyway, first thing I want to do is trim off all the fat on the outside, and then I'm going to go into deboning it, taking it all off the bone. And then after that, after I separate all the ligaments and debone it, then what we'll do is start working on getting rid of the silver skin. This process, some people do it real quick, but I like to take my time doing it. And as you see, I'm wearing gloves, and these just are gloves where they're clean gloves. They're not latex, but they're so I can grip, the hind quarter like that. When you use latex, you tend to slip, and I'll use latex when I go on to grinding the meat up and using the fat and sausage stuffing and all that stuff like that. We're going to do two types of sausage. We're going to do sausage in casings. I'm going to do the snack stick size, and then I'm going to do some patties. And after we're done with all of it, we're going to vacuum seal it and everything. So I would show you this part about deboning it, but I mean, it's really simple. You just cut off all the fat and you just basically take it off the bone. The stuff is going to go all ground up anyway, so there's not really a lot to it. I mean, there's people have their own techniques of doing it, but I mean, hey, it's just take it off the damn bone. So stay tuned. All right. So this is what you end up having. I took and deboned this thing the best that I could. All this stuff right here is just fat. Tri-tips are in here. I don't use the tri-tips because they're just filled with silver skin. And it's just a pain. It's just a pain trying to separate all that silver skin. But all this is just dirty, damaged meat with fat on it and silver skin trimmings. And that's what you end up having, something that looks like that. And pretty much all my good meat is in here. I mean, you got your roast, sirloins, top round, bottom round, all that good stuff right there. And that's what's going to make, your sausage. That right there. So next step is get rid of this, dispose of this, and then continue to trim off the fat and silver skin off of this. Wash your meat, clean it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out my seasonings. And I only use one seasoning. And while I do that, I'm going to take this meat after I clean it and make it final where I'm ready to run it through the grinder. I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, and I'm going to let the meat cool. I might even put it in the freezer, so it gets it real cold, which allows it to easier to cut. And it's just good when you make the sausage to have your meat cold throughout the whole process. So on to the next step. All right, now that I pretty much have this meat, I did my final trim. Got as much as the silver skin off as I could. You're not going to get every last single piece off, but you want to get it as much as you can. So now the next step is I got to cut this stuff where it could be able to fit through this grinder. So I'm just going to cut them in cubes or strips or however you want to do them like that. I like to cut them as long as I can, because the strands of your sausage will be longer when you send it through the grinder. It really doesn't matter, because once it goes in a casing or once it gets pressed into a patty, I mean, it's gonna get the same effect. So, but that's the way I like to do it. You know, just chunks that, you know, will fit down inside your grinder. Doesn't matter if you go against the grain or with the grain. Like I said, it's all going to get grinded up anyway. So, I mean, that's my motto. Like I said, you have, see, like this little bit of silver skin like that on there. If you want, you can just go back and you can just trim that piece like that. You know, and just get that little stuff off there like that. Just like that. These animals are real lean. I mean, they hardly have any fat on them. But like I said, you want to get as much of that stuff off as you can. As you see, I have a scale. I have a measuring cup and all that. So as you see how I just basically cube this stuff up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this back into this bin. I'm going to rinse this bin out, transfer that back into this bin, and I'm going to stick this in the freezer while I go ahead and measure and do all my calculations. I'm going to weigh this, because you definitely need to know how much meat you have and the ratio of how you want to make your sausage. There's so many different ways. So many people do different ratios. Me, preferably, I do a 66-33. Pork fat. I cut it with pork fat. So that will be 33% pork fat, 66% lean venison. That's just my personal preference. I did a lot of research, and I went through a lot of test runs, and I think when I did a one-third ratio with the pork fat, it just came out better. But that's basically how you want to do it. So now let's move on. So basically, that hind quarter yielded me 6.56 pounds. That's of lean meat. A third of that I want to be pork fat. So how do you calculate that? You do 6.56, okay, times 1/3 is 33%, so you do 0.33. Okay, so we want 2.16 pounds of pork fat. All right. Now, the sausage seasoning I'm going to be using is an old plantation legs seasoning. Man, this stuff is good. I personally like it. I got this from my cousin. He recommended me that I use it. And it's just a regular pork sausage seasoning. And my mother loves it. when you go into seasoning, stuff like that, this is 25, this seasons 25 pounds of meat, okay? They recommend you use this whole thing at once to season all 25 pounds of the meat, but last year I didn't use 25 pounds of meat strictly for sausage. I kind of split it up with burger, sausage, jerky, and steaks and all that. So I had different type of cuts from my meat. So we got 6.56 pounds of meat, and we have 2.16 pounds of fat that we're going to use. I'm going to take the total of fat and the meat combined, and I take the total weight, and then I do my measurements off of that to see how much I'm going to put in. Now, how do I know how much to put in? Because it's not 25 pounds of meat. Well, this is an 8-ounce bag, and it seasons 25 pounds of meat. If I want to know how much to use per pound, I'm going to do 8 divided by 25, and that gives me a 0.32. Okay? That will be 1/3 of an ounce. Okay? 1/3 of an ounce per pound. So I take that, I times my total, times 8.72, 2.79 ounces. So almost 3 ounces of this stuff is what I'm going to use to mix in to my total weight of that meat and fat. So that's pretty much how you do it. You take the amount of how much is in here, you divide it by how many pounds it makes, and that will give you how much to use per pound of the meat. So that's critical. That's going to make your meat come out, your sausage and your seasoning ratio come out really, really good. So always keep that in mind. Seasoning, how much, the amount of seasoning is always critical of making good product. Take a look at that right there. There you go. That right there. Okay. I left me out of the picture. But okay, now what we're looking at here is I have my venison mixed with my fat. Okay? And you want to kind of evenly distribute this stuff. Okay? So when you send it through the grinder, you'll get an even portion of fat to meat. Okay, and once you send it through the grinder, you're going to have to kind of pick. And, you know, add meat, add fat, add meat, add fat. And to get you through there. So this is what you're looking at now. See, I have that stuff. I have that fat in there. I have that lean venison. And if you want to know where to find fat, is you can go at your local butcher shop and ask them if you just have any pork fat or beef fat. When I make my burger, I use lamb fat. But yeah, that's pretty much how you gain the fat. So now, when I get ready to send this through the grinder, I'm going to take half of my seasonings and I'm going to just season it like that. About halfway. And what that does is, some people do it after they grind it up, but I'm going to do it before and after. So when I do it before, what's going to happen is, it's going to grind and it's going to really get inside the meat. And I'm just going to mix this up, season it, mix it up like that, get that stuff all in there, season real well, and just really massage it into the meat. And get that all on that fat, and that fat is what's going to hold that flavor. So the fat's gonna seem like it's not separating, but that's what you're gonna do when you throw it through the grinder. But for the most part, you wanna get that stuff all seasoned in there, mixed up, and ready to throw in that grinder. Okay, and that's pretty much what we're looking at. And as you can see, when I show this to you, it may not look like, you have these big clumps of fat, but that's why you're going to do the work and separate it yourself to evenly distribute it when you put it through the grinder. As you see, I have 2 tubs. I have a deep one for mixing, and then I have one that's gonna catch the finished product. So get that stuff all massaged in there, and get it ready to go through the grinder. This is going to be a little bit loud, but I have my grinder set up, I have my fat in there, my meat, and we're going to use this to push that meat down in there, and that's going to flow up out of this pan. Okay, so we're going to clip this on. Now, as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm kind of doing meat, fat, meat, fat, meat, fat. And then after I get finished, what's going to happen is I'm going to mix this all in. I'm going to add the rest of my seasons with my water, and I'm going to mix it really, really good. And then that's going to be my finished product. I only like to send it through the grinder one time, because I found that once I send it through the grinder twice, my meat isn't as coarse, my sausage isn't as coarse as I want it to be. It kind of like when you bite into it after you cook it, it kind of crumbles apart. And I don't like that feeling. So now, as you can see, this is what the coming out the grinder looks like. Okay, you can see the consistency and coloration of meat to fat. Okay, and as you can see, that looks like sausage that you would get out the grocery store. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this and I'm going to transfer it back into my mixing tub, and I'm going to add the rest of my seasonings with a little bit of water. All right, now let's move this over. I'm going to transfer this back into my mixing tub. Okay. Get that out. Okay. Roll up those sleeves. A little bit of chunk of fat. Unprocessed fat. Throw that back in there. And stretch this in there. Oh, look at that. Unprocessed meat. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of my seasonings in there. The rest of it, okay, I'm going to add a tad. This is 6 ounces. I don't think I'm going to use the whole 6. I'm just going to pour a little bit in there. Let me get the mix. You can mix it any way you want. However you feel that you're going to get the job done. I do have a meat mixer, but this isn't enough meat. Just gonna get this distributed all even in there. However way you want to do it. Okay, so add the rest of my seasonings. Sprinkle that even. Okay, I'm gonna add just a little bit of more water. Well, you know what? We add that right. Add the whole thing. And then we just finish this thing. And it already smells like sausage. Okay. Now the part that we all like. Actually making the patties and actually making the sausage in the casings. Now I tilted the camera down so you can see this here. Scoop this up a little bit. Now, okay, so I have my product. Okay, we're going to be taking this, half of it, and we're going to be making patties, and we're going to be making links. So first, let me start off with the patties. Right here, I have a burger press. Okay. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is when I make my patties, I'm going to get some of this pressing steel. Okay. You can get wax paper. You can use saran wrap. Whatever. I'm going to use this pressing steel. Now, what I'm going to do is you got to be careful with this pressing steel. One side is sticky and one side is not. You want the meat touching the side that's not sticky. So, I'm just gonna get a nice little piece. Oh, yay big. Rip it off. Okay. I'm gonna cut this in fourths. Okay. I'm just gonna cut it in fourths. All right. Just like that. And you want, like I said, you want to pay attention to the sides that are non-stick. Okay. Okay. Just like so. Move our non-stick sides. Put them to the side. All right. Non-stick side. This is the non-stick side. That side's going to be touching the meat. I'm going to lay that in there just like that. Same thing on this side. Lay that in there just like that. Okay? I'm going to grab a nice portion of venison sausage. And this thing adjusts too. And I'm just going to press that down in there just like that. Okay? Alright, you want to hold that and you want to let that drop, okay? And you just want to press all the way down. And as you see, that stuff on the excess, that excess sausage, that's going to pop out the sides. You want to press that down. Get it compact. And you just take your finger and just trim the outside. Okay? And that's all reusable sausage. Like I said, this stuff is sanitary. I've cleaned it before I used it. And that's the key to making good product. And then you just pop it back open. Hold that tab, pop it back open. And just pull it right on out. And there you have a patty, sausage patty. And just when I vacuum seal it, I just go ahead and vacuum seal it with this on there. And then when you're ready to cook, I mean, all you do is just cut the vacuum seal bag, and this stuff will just come right off just like that. That's it. Comes right off just like that. And there you have it. A sausage patty. And we're going to continue doing that until we're halfway. Like I said, I'm going to make half patties. I'm going to make half links. So that's how you make a sausage patty. Let's make one more. So we got our sticky side, we know. I'm gonna go ahead and cut that. Sticky side down. Sticky side down. Take a glob. Like I said, this thing is adjustable. I mean, you can make them how thick you want it. I like mine about 3/16, quarter, whatever. Like I said, that's personal preference. And you just want to go ahead and make a ball. Go ahead, stick it on there. Press like that. Hold it. Let it drop. And press. Trim the outside. Throw it back in your pile. Hold that tab. Just like that. Patty. There you go. Alright, this last segment of the video is going to be me putting this sausage, stuffing it into casings. And this is an LEM stuffer, sausage stuffer, 5-pound sausage stuffer, and collagen casings. They're edible. They come in different sizes, and you can make summer sausage, you can make salami, you can make breakfast links, hot links, whatever. I'm going to be making something about the size of an Italian sausage that you buy at the store. So how this works is, this sausage stuffer, you have to crank it all the way up in order to pull this out. Okay? And you just pull it out just like that. Okay? And this tube, this comes off. Okay? This tube, like that, this attaches to the bottom. And you screw it in just like so. And what you want to do is, you take your sausage and you want to ball it up. Ball it up in balls and stuff it down there until it gets full. Balls at a time. Balls deep. And I'll press down there to get any air out, stuff like that. The key to making this good sausage is you don't want any air pockets in there. You don't want to fill it all the way up. Just, you know, an inch above the rim. And this is going to pop right back in. And what you're going to do is, after that, I like to stick my casing on that nozzle just like that. All the way down on there. And what I like to do is after I stuff it on there, pull something out, I'm going to tie a knot on the end of that. Just like so. And you'll be able to cut it. Stuff it all the way in there, jam it all the way up to there. Then you crank down this handle. And you just keep cranking. You keep cranking, and you want that nozzle to be all the way down on there. Okay? Make sure it fits on there well. Okay? Pull it off, just like that. Crank it. Alright, and what that's going to do is that's going to get the air out. And that sausage, you're going to see that sausage come down the nozzle like that. And you just want to crank it until it gets to the end. See that coming out like that? Throw that back in there. See how that's just like that? I got no air. So I'm going to put this back on there. I'm going to stuff it all the way to the end. And you see how I had that knot tied. Okay? Cinch down on that knot. And you're going to want to apply pressure. You're going to want to hold this while you crank. And you're going to see what happens. And I'm going to hold this just like this. And you want to apply pressure. You don't want no air pockets. And that's just going to come out just like that. You want to take it easy. Okay. Just like that. Okay. Stop. Regroup. And you see how this is coming out. Okay. Now you might want to have a long table for this. But I mean, you work with what you got. And you just keep cranking. As you can see, I'm applying pressure with my hand right here. Not just pressure enough where it lets it go, but just the slightest resistance. That's going to keep the sausage compact in this casing. It's going to prevent air pockets from coming. If you feel like you got too much resistance, just stop and loosen up a little bit. You're going to need space for this, so. Alright, feel like it's getting too long, you stop, reposition, get stuff out of your way, and continue the process. So now we have one long link. I mean, and this thing's giant, okay? So what we're gonna do is, so we're going to keep cranking until this thing is totally done. Okay? Alright. So now we have one long link. Alright? That right there. So we're going to twist, fold, and we're going to go the opposite way. And this is going to be hard because the sausage is stuffed in there, it's compact, and it's going to be a little bit difficult, and that's why you fold. And you're going to need space for this. I'm going to fold. And that's why I say you leave this foot. Okay, so basically, folks, this is your end product. As you can see, I made patties, and I put them in the casing also. And end product, tie the ends, and this is what you're working with, right there. So, and of course you'll clip these, but I mean that's basically it, you know. This is good stuff right here. You can do all different types of flavors. As you see, I made them long. I like them like kielbasas, and I like the patties. Patties are good for breakfast. Yeah, that right there is venison sausage.